Howdy folks, welcome to Melanchthon Creek Farm. Since this is our first video, I wanted to do a bit of an introduction. We're a small homestead in central North Carolina. For now, we're focused on gardening, but in the future we do have plans for developing a food forest and adding some livestock and some chicken, sheep, pigs, and so on. I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our channel and follow us along in our journey as we seek to be more sustainable. Who don't want that in the world in which we live today? In this first video, I wanted to go back to when I first designed our greenhouse and garden area. Previously, we've had in-ground gardens, and it wasn't until this year we decided to adopt the raised bed method. Unfortunately, when I first started building the greenhouse and the raised beds, I only took pictures. I didn't think I'd ever start a YouTube channel or share videos of what I was doing, but as time went on, I found inspiration and encouragement from others out there. I felt I may have something to help others with. So for this first video, I would like to share those pictures, and I'll attempt to explain what's going on in each of them. This first video here is as it is today, with the melon patch and the raised beds, the greenhouse that we have. When I first started to imagine how I wanted to lay out each of these, I watched a lot of YouTube videos. If you want to find out how to do something, go to YouTube, right? I knew I wanted to build something that I could use the material that I already had available to me. I knew I wanted to make a greenhouse out of pallets. I had those available, along with the raised beds out of pallets. Now, I want to say that nothing that I've built is completely of my own design. I watched a lot of videos and I developed a lot of different ideas from those, and I used what worked best for me. And the logical area to put everything was where we had already had an in-ground garden, which was by the building. Now, I'll speak more about this decision to do that in later videos, so stay tuned. I knew I wanted the raised beds on each side of the building doors, the greenhouse there at the corner, and the raised beds wrapping around the greenhouse. So I began leveling out the ground where I wanted the greenhouse to go. I done this with just a pickaxe and a flathead shovel. And here is the bricks I used to level out the foundation, keep the pallets up off the ground. The greenhouse is 3 pallets long and 2 pallets wide. The pallets I used were 48 inches by 48 inches, and I stood them up on the 48-inch end. I ripped slats off other pallets that were not as sturdy, screwed those slats on the inside between the bottom slats to connect the pallets together. I would recommend now, if you're going to be ripping slats off of pallets to build whatever it is that you're going to build, go to Amazon and buy you a pallet buster. I learned this from a friend of mine at Deep River Farm a little too late. I wished I'd have had one when I was doing this project. I'll put a link to his video in the description. Now let me pause here and just say this. If you're planning on using pallets for any type of structure that's going to be outside or in the weather, if you're looking to use them for raised bed gardening, I recommend that you use heat-treated pallets. The way you know they're heat-treated is I have a stamp that looks just like this. It'll be on the side near one of the ends. It'll have a wheat symbol, and it'll be stamped with a 2-letter country code. Of course, if you're here in the U.S. or whatever country you're in, it's best to use that domestically sourced wood that you live in. Here in the U.S., it will say U.S., and that's what I would recommend you use. It'll be stamped with a certification number, and then it'll be stamped with the type of treatment that they use. And what you're looking for is the HT, and that stands for heat treated. Now, there are some out there that won't be stamped at all. That means that they shouldn't be treated, whether heat, pressure, or chemically. But I would recommend that you use pallets that are heat treated. For an additional layer of protection, I use the Japanese method of shoshugiban on all the pallets. Basically, you take a torch and you scorch the wood. It helps to deter pests, and it gives it that rustic look. Here is all the pallets together, making the base for the greenhouse. I used 2x4s in the corners to connect each of the sides. Then I cut 2 pallets in the front to make the doorway. And I used some rough cut lumber to line the top of those pallets where I was going to mount the PVC for the hoops. Framed out a window in the back and a door according to the height of the PVC that I was using to make the hoops. To attach those hoops, I drilled holes in the top of that rough cut lumber that I used to line the top of the pallets with. I used slats from other pallets to cover the gaps in between the slats on the outside of the greenhouse to close it all in. I lined the inside of the floor and about halfway up the wall with black plastic, and then I filled the floor with gravel. Then it was time to start on the raised beds. For these, I cut 48-inch pallets in half and screwed them together, forming a 2-foot by 2-foot raised bed around the greenhouse over to the building. One of the surprises I had for my wife was these strawberry planters, which is the pallets you see hanging on the building wall. To make these planters, I removed the middle 2 slats, spaced them apart evenly, and then reattached them. Then I cut slats to fit on the bottom side of each of those, and then lined them with landscape fabric. I lined the raised beds with cardboard as a weed barrier. Also, I lined them with the black plastic. I cut 2x4 braces to prevent the pallets from bulging out from the weight of the dirt. For extra bracing, I used 2x4s attached to the door frame on each side and on the very top and at the window frame. Then I ran screws through the hoops into those 2x4s. Used a little bit of duct tape over the screw head so when I pulled the plastic over it wouldn't tear it. Here I have the plastic over to the top. I wrapped the plastic around a 1x4, securing it to the sides with a big flat washer and screw. I cut the pieces of plastic for the front and the back, and I used clear Gorilla Tape to secure it together. I ripped 2x4s in half, then I laid plastic in between them, screwed the 2x4s together to secure that plastic, and that's how I made the door and the window. Then I started working on the rest of the beds around the front of the greenhouse and down the other side. Here's the finished product. To keep this first video short, I'll end it here. I'll pick back up in the next video with how I filled the beds. I'll show you a couple of the other raised beds that I built along with the melon patch. We'll also take a closer look at the greenhouse and the beds themselves. I appreciate you watching again. Please like, subscribe, share. If I could be of any help to anyone, leave me a comment or send me an email to the link I have in the description. I am by no means an expert builder or gardener for that matter. I've learned a lot by watching others and what they've been doing. They've been doing it a lot longer than I have, and they're a lot more knowledgeable than I am. But I hope something that I've shared here today can help someone, if they're looking to start a garden with raised beds or whether it's building something out of pallets. Thanks again for watching.